This is a full book review of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's Purple Hibiscus. As the Washington Post book world has described this book, it is certainly breathtaking. After several attempts to go ahead and try to express my thoughts about the Purple Hibiscus, the book, on paper, I finally realized something about this book, other than the fact that the Purple Hibiscus has no relevant plot points, other than showing the freedom of speech, the freedom of expression, and the way that Jaja and Kambila are growing. The Purple Hibiscus itself is mildly enthusiastic in how it talks, discusses, and reveals all these hidden truths that are happening within a family. Our main characters, Kambili and Jaja, are taking the full front of this abusive household. Mostly, I'm going to talk about the missionaries and gods for this part of the video. I'll later talk about freedom of expression in the next part. The missionaries and the gods. When the white people first came to the deepest arc of Africa, as they used to call it, darkest, deepest Africa, they were there to convert these people into a culture that would go ahead and make them more civilized, and whatever other reasons that they have convinced themselves to the need to colonize the Africas. The missionaries were sent first so that they could convert them and then make it weaker for the government of whatever culture that they had at the time and all those disjoined tribes. They would be able to go ahead and create all these colonies among Africa. They would go ahead and divvy up Africa towards their needs. Maybe Spain would get this part, maybe France would get this part, maybe England would get this part, maybe Germany would get this part, and etc., with each European country taking a small piece out of this. But all those colonization attempts are over. The result of the colonization attempts are a bunch of Christians living in the Purple Hibiscus kind of world. Now we have a bunch of independent liberated nations, albeit they aren't exactly the greatest nations this planet has seen on Africa. Nigeria itself is at the time is a typical example of the unstable political environment that a country can have. By unstable, I mean it's a tyrannical regime. That tyrannical regime itself is reflected in the household of the ADICHIE family. The ADICHIE family's father, Papa himself, is going ahead and showing everyone how he deals with his children. He himself has mixed up his religious will with the fact that he has to punish his children in any way possible, even if it means beating them to the brink of death and beating them and scalding them and burning them all the way to the point where they would go ahead and need to be hospitalized and will be emotionally damaged and scarred for the rest of their lives. Nobody should ever take that beating. Nobody should ever be destroyed. Nobody should ever feel pain. But people do feel pain anyway. Now, other than God, there's also the talk of freedom of expression. Free will itself is one of the most fundamental human rights that is stated in the United Nations. The free will of expression itself will go ahead and tell us everything about what you think about yourself, what you want for yourself, what you wish to do for yourself, and not base something on what someone else wants you to do. America itself is a typical and perfect example for this. Why? Mainly because it has become synonymous with the land of the free since it was formed. That was one of the basic foundations of their own principles, that they would become the land of free. I'm sorry that this part is a little bit too long, but I'm not really good at drawing countries. Back to the point. With our America in hand, I will go ahead and demonstrate to you how freedom of expression has been able to grow within this place and how it was once oppressed. Now, this will also include black people, and this might become a little gory and a little too detailed with it because of the slavery issues and the civil rights movements and things. So, I advise you, if you don't want to watch this part, you can skip ahead. Now, what was I going to say? Here we have a white man. I'll make him white. And here we have a black man. Even in America, these two were not considered equal, mainly because Africans were sold towards America to go ahead and make them and turn them into slaves. With this, the white man itself is thinking that he is superior above the African black man, even after he is liberated from the bondages of slavery after the Civil War. They are still unequal, mainly because they always believe that they are the superior ones. As a result, their freedom of speech is oppressed. But they go ahead and strike back. Some start to become louder. And they're all like, louder, louder, louder. We want our freedom now. We want our freedom of expression and will right now. They want their self. They want themselves. They want to be able to show themselves and not be oppressed for it. The white man obviously has the territorial advantage here, and as a result goes ahead and declines his power. But as they grow and grow, they become stronger and stronger until the point that they are now equals with the white man in terms of power. Even if the white man sees them as an inferior species, they will go ahead and see themselves as an equal, at least towards the white man. And in reality, they certainly are equals. Underneath all that skin, they're all just a bunch of bones and flesh and organ systems that all the white men and the black men share. Other than the fact that when someone considers their own race superior to another race, that's other than the fact that it's racist, I should also consider the ideas that have input in their brains. Why I chose America as the perfect place for this is because they are the land of the free. It is in their foundations that races are equal, that all cultures are equal, and that they should be treated equally. And that's how they became one of the most successful nations in the world, including the fact that they were able to get out of all the conflicts with a lateral barrier that barred them from the European wars, the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. And now, our civil rights, they're even more equal than they ever should have been. In fact, they're more equal than they ever have been. And as a result, we have people like Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and other civil rights activists to thank for all of these kinds of interactions and all these advancements in the equality of the races. And finally, to close this video, I want to mention the purple hibiscus a lot. Other than the symbolizing of the freedom, we have to talk about the purple hibiscus as itself. It itself is just a beautiful flower. Jaja himself plants it and waits for it to grow and bloom into a great new kind of stalk and plant. And when it does grow and bloom, it is coincidentally happening at the same time when Papa's dead and their freedom and liberation has been complete. But it wilts when Jaja himself takes the scapegoat, the blame from poisoning Papa, to go ahead and get himself arrested in Mama's stead. Mama tries to go ahead and bail her son out by saying that she was the one who killed Papa, but no one is able to believe her, mainly because they all know that she's never killed in her life. So why now? The purple hibiscus itself is very important at the ending. 31 months after Jaja is arrested, we have Kimberly expressing her wish that when Jaja finally gets out, he will plant a new purple hibiscus to symbolize their newfound liberation and the way that they can go ahead and start anew, the way that they can go ahead and create something that will show their liberation again, and the purple hibiscus will grow along with it. And those are my thoughts and my review of the purple hibiscus, other than the fact that, hey, you should read this mainly because it has all these themes, it has all these ideas that make this book simply breathtaking in the sense of how one teenage girl could go ahead and get through all this liberation after all these obstacles that have happened. What can I say? Nothing else can hit harder than that. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Hunter and Sean. As a result, until next time, Shihan out, peace, bye bye. Certainly, read this book. It is worth your time.